Hi folks, welcome to the session number 4 of the beginner training. In this session we'll uh, learn about the mesh modeling tools, the basics of the mesh modeling tools. But before that, let's take a look at some of the 3D view navigation preferences. Right, so I'll just set my settings to factory defaults. Okay, so with the factory defaults, um, if I rotate the view, okay, you'll notice that rotation is happening around the center of the view. Right, say if I pan the view by holding down shift and middle mouse and try to orbit the view, it's still happening around the center of the view, which is over here. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. Okay, so let's switch to camera. Okay, now I'm in the camera view. Now if I middle click and move the mouse, okay, so this is not so good, right? So let's see how to fix that. Go to your user preferences. Okay, in the user preferences there are a few things. First, rotate around the selected object. Okay, so if I check this and try to move the object, move the 3D view, the rotation happens around the selected object. So if I select this lamp, now rotation happens around that lamp. And if I choose the camera by right click, rotation happens about the camera. Okay, so that's the first thing. And next thing is zoom to mouse position. This is also a useful hotkey feature. So let me select the cube and press the space bar and type view selected. Okay, now if I zoom to this corner, okay, now the view zooms over there. Okay, similarly, okay, this is very useful when modeling. All right, so let's get back to the camera view. So that's another option. And then um, again, if you take a look at the 3D view, okay, now rotation happens in a mode called trackball mode, okay, which is all around. Okay, there's another mode of view rotation which called turntable. So turntable basically enables you to rotate the view in the x and y plane. Okay, so let me enable that. You should go to input and change it to turntable. Okay, cool. So let me do all this in one go and then save the defaults. So load the factory settings again and open the preferences, then turntable and rotate around selection and zoom to mouse position. So with these selected, save as default. Okay, all right, so now let's learn about the uh, transformations around different pivot points. Okay, so you'll notice that when I rotate the object by pressing the R key, okay, the rotation is happening around its okay, center, object center. Okay, you'll notice that the option that is set is median point. Okay, uh, since only one object is selected, the median point will be its origin. Okay, let me cancel the rotation. um, okay, press the space key and type a clear rotation. Okay, hotkey is alt R. Now let's duplicate this object. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you the turntable movement. So you'll notice that as I move the view rotates in the XY plane. Let's duplicate the object. Okay, I'll do a link duplicate. Okay, now you're in the translation mode. So press the G key. I'm sorry. Just press the X key to move the object along the x-axis. Okay. Now let me create a few more link duplicates. So Alt D. Okay, and constrain the movement in the XY plane by pressing Shift Z. Okay, keep it here. Alt D and Shift Z, and one more time. Okay. Um, okay. Now let me select all these cube objects. So I selected this one, and then go to Select, Grouped, and Type. Okay, so this basically selects all the objects that are of mesh type. Okay, because the cube is geometry mesh. There you go. You'll also notice that the outline on these objects, okay, is different. Okay, uh, the cube in the middle has a lighter outline, and the others have a little darker outline. Now we have five selected objects. Okay, of these five selected objects, this one is the active object. Okay, so let's do this again. Let me select this cube and select, grouped, and type. Now in all the selected objects, this one is the active object. Okay, so let's change the pivot mode to active element. Okay, you'll notice that the manipulator snaps to the active element. Now if I press the R key for rotate, okay, and constrain the rotation in the Z axis by pressing the Z key, you'll notice all objects are rotating with the active object as the pivot. Okay, let's keep it here. Let me select this. Okay, you can also type Shift G to get the select grouped menu. Okay, we access this menu from the 3D view header. Okay, so the same menu can be accessed using Shift G. So Shift G and type. Now this is our active object, and if I rotate in the, say, X axis. Okay, rotation happens around the active object. Similarly, rotate around Y and rotate around Y. Okay, all right. Similarly, you can scale. Okay, the scaling happens around the active object. Okay, and Y. All right, so that's about the pivot points. You also have one more nice option called individual origins. Okay, so let's choose that. Okay, and press the rotate key. Now you notice the objects are individually rotating around their origins. Okay, all right, and next to the pivot point menu, you have this manipulate object centers only. So what this does is, okay, it will only uh, rotate the object center or not the actual mesh. Okay, so let me just delete all these objects. Okay, press the X key, delete, and add a cube. To turn off the manipulator, okay, you can use control space. Okay, turn off and turn on, or you can use this icon over here. So let me link duplicate, Alt D and Shift Z. Okay, place it over here. So Alt T Shift Z, do it a couple of times. Okay, now let me, okay, and you can also move the objects around the 3D cursor. Okay, so let me place the 3D cursor here. Okay, and change the pivot mode to 3D cursor and select all these objects. Shift G, type, and then R to rotate. So now you see rotation happens around the 3D cursor. Okay, press escape to cancel. Now if you enable this manipulate object centers only and try to rotate, you'll notice that the cube geometry is not rotating. It's just the center of the cube is rotating. Okay, so let's turn this off and rotate. So you'll notice the cube geometry itself is rotating, so keep that in mind. Alright, so that's about the object transformations around the pivot points. Let me open up a new session. Okay, now there's a few more things about object transformations. Say I want to move this cube, okay, this selected object in the z-axis by 1 unit. In the previous classes we've learned how to use the manipulator handle or use the properties panel to move the objects. Okay, but you can also okay, my 3D cursor snapped over there, so Shift C to move it to the origin. So as I was saying, you can also move the objects, okay, just by typing stuff, some keystrokes on the keyboard. So let's have a look at it. Okay, so press the G key for the grab mode or the translate mode. Okay, and constrain the movement in the z-axis by pressing the Z key. Okay, and then you can type values. Okay, I can say 0.5. Okay, you'll notice the cube has moved by 0.5 units, and you'll also notice the 3D header shows okay, D 0.5 along global z-axis. Okay, if I don't like the value, I can backspace. Okay, and maybe type 2.5. Okay, so this is a nice feature. Okay, similarly, I can scale and constrain in the y-axis and scale by 2.456. Okay, if I don't like it, scale by 4.5. Okay, all right, let's clear the scale. Okay, Alt S is a hotkey and clear the location. So the spacebar key, okay, is your friend. You can type in operator names. Okay, okay, so that's about the object transformation by typing keystrokes. Okay, like one final time, rotate around the x-axis by minus 45 degrees. Okay, or plus 34 degrees. Okay, and clear rotation. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's now learn about mesh editing. Okay, before I do that, I'll turn off zoom to mouse position. Okay, I find it a little bit annoying. Okay, and all right, cool. So now let's see how to edit meshes. We have seen simple editing of meshes in the previous sessions, but today we'll learn more about it. Okay, so let me switch to the camera view. Okay, then move the object in the z-axis by 1 unit. So press G and then press Z and then press 1, enter. To switch to the wireframe mode, press Z. Okay, then Shift A to access the add menu that you access from here as well. Shift A mesh under plane. Okay, and then scale it. Press S and type 8.5. Okay, and switch to the solid mode again. Okay, let's render this. Okay, so we have a simple mesh. Okay, switch the buffer and press escape to get back to 3D view. Now let's learn about um, the mesh modeling tools. Okay, let's switch to the edit mode. Okay, to switch to the edit mode, you can also use the tab key. Okay, so tab will take you back to object mode and back to edit mode again. You can right click to select vertices. Okay, you can, if you want to select multiple vertices, hold down the shift key and select the vertices. Okay, to deselect and select, the hotkey is A. Okay, which you can access from here also. Okay, so A, okay, toggles. And to inverse select, say I selected these four but I want to select the others, control I. Right, you can also do box selection. Okay, so press the B key. Okay, it'll give you this cursor kind of thing, and just click and drag. Okay, there you go, box selection. Now since the 3D viewport is in the solid mode, backface culling is turned on, so you'll notice that this vertex was not selected because it was not in the view. Okay, so if you want to be sure you select everything, okay, that are hidden, then you go over to the wireframe mode and box select. Okay, you can also use brush selection, so press the C key. Okay, and you can just paint, just click the mouse, left click the mouse and drag it, and you can paint your selection. Okay, to get out of this paint selection mode, just press escape. Okay, so C, and I can just paint the selection. Okay, and there's also lasso selection. Okay, so I can say hold on the control key and left click drag to lasso select vertices or edges or faces. Okay, so you'll also notice that you can switch different selection modes from here: vertex, edge, and face. Okay, vertex, edge, and face. The hotkey for this is Control Tab. Okay, you can press Control Tab and choose edge, Control Tab face, Control Tab vertex. Okay, so select multiple edges, and I can type view selected, and the hotkey is over here, numpad dot. All right, cool. So and if the manipulator is coming in your way, you can just type control space to hide it. Okay, um, okay, so now let's take a look at some more options. Go to view and properties, collapse these panels. You'll also notice that when you're in the mesh edit mode, there's a extra mesh display panel that shows up. If you're in object mode, that panel is not visible. Okay, so from here you can choose. Okay, I just deselected everything. Choose okay, show me face normals. Okay, and increase the size of the normals and switch to the solid mode. Okay, so your face normals are all pointing, okay, out of the face, and you can also enable vertex normals. Okay, vertex normals are basically, okay, the basic idea is this particular vertex over here, okay, is shared by these three faces. Okay, now each face has its own normal. Okay, so this is the normal for this face, and this is the normal for this, and this normal is for this face. A vertex normal is the average of the normals of these three faces to which it belongs. Okay, vertex normals are useful. Okay, so I can select this vertex. Okay, switch to the vertex select mode, select this vertex, and access the shrink flatten tool. Okay, the hotkey is alt S. So basically what shrink flatten does is it moves the vertex along its vertex normal. Okay, okay, so there you go. Okay, so we modified our mesh by moving one of these vertices along their vertex normals. Right, now you'll notice that this particular face, okay, is not in a plane. Okay, it's it's not in a single plane. Okay, so this surface is flat and this surface is inclined. Okay, so that's not good. So we need to convert this quadrilateral, okay, into triangles. So to do that, you can go to mesh and face and quads to tris. So once you do that, okay, these two faces are split. Okay, and this triangle is in its own plane. Okay, I mean a triangle always exists in one plane, and that's how faces should be. Okay, and we'll learn more about this in the later modeling sessions. Okay, and you can also do things like I want this particular edge, okay, to be along this diagonal. So I can select these faces and go to mesh, edges, and rotate edge clockwise. Okay, so what this does is whichever edge is shared by these two faces, it will be rotated. There you go. Okay, so that's your next mm, mesh modeling operation. Okay, you'll notice that all the operator settings are displayed over here. So I can choose counterclockwise or clockwise. In this case it's not working, must be a bug. Okay, but should change. Okay, so that's that. Now let's render this. Okay, switch to the camera and okay, and press F12. Okay, or hit this, okay, all right. Now let's take a look at smoothing the mesh. Okay, now you'll notice that these faces are kind of faceted. Okay, so let's switch to slot number 3, press escape, select the cube and click on smooth shading. Okay, so now you'll notice that the object appears much smoother, right? And render again. Okay, but you'll notice that the shading the actual shading with the lights on, okay, is not so nice. Okay, uh, so let's try to fix that. So to fix that, we need to add more geometry. Okay, we need to add more geometry so that the shading happens gradually. Okay, so to do that, we'll now learn about the um, loop cut tools. Okay, to access these loop cut tools, you need to be in the edit mode, right? Let me turn off the vertex normals and okay, loop cut. So spacebar, loop cut. So there are two options, one is loop cut and one is loop cut and slide. Loop cut and slide enables you to choose a loop cut. Okay, so just move the mouse around and you'll see the loop cut, and once you left click, it then puts you in the edge slide mode so that you can slide the edge. Okay, in fact let's learn about these tools. Okay, I can just left click to get the loop. Let's learn about these tools on a simple cube. Okay, it'll be uh, easier to understand. So let me open up our new file. Okay, um, view selected, go into the edit mode, hide the manipulator and loop cut. Okay, if I just use loop cut, I can just place loop cut, click with the left mouse and it's done. Okay, we cannot slide it. If you want to slide it, you need to go to mesh, edge, and then edge slide. Okay, so then you can slide the edge. Okay, so to cancel the operation, just press escape. Okay, so let's go to the camera view, right, and do a render. Okay, it's all nice. Switch to slot number 2, escape, and smooth the mesh, render again. Okay, now we need to fix this shading, right? So to do that, let's add some loop cuts. Go to edit mode and view selected. Okay, and then let's add a loop cut on slide. Okay, while you're in the loop cut mode, you'll also notice the 3D view header, it, it changes, and it tells you, okay, use the mouse wheel page up, page down for the number of cuts. So if I want one cut, this is the default. If I want two cuts, just scroll the mouse, okay, a little by little, and as you scroll more, you get more loop cuts. Okay, there you go. So let me just place one loop and place it over here. Okay, and then render. Okay, you'll notice that compared to the previous render, okay, the shading is much better because we added one extra loop. Okay, so by adding more loops at the corners, okay, you can achieve some nice shading. Okay, let's just add a few more. Okay, few loops horizontally and like this. Okay, and then press render F12, so it looks much better. Okay, um, that's how you control smoothing. There are different ways. This is one way. Okay, we'll learn more about them in the subsequent sessions. Okay, so sorry, that's about adding loop cuts. um, Now let's see how we can select loops. Okay, say I want to select this particular loop, okay, that goes in a continuous circle. So how do I select the loops, right? So to select these loops, you just hold down the alt key and right click on one of the vertices. Okay, so it basically selects the loop. Okay, if I hold on alt and select this, so that particular loop is selected. Okay, and after the loop is selected, I can do things like shrink, flatten. Okay, alt S, and move it along this way. Okay, and then render. Okay, and again, by adding more loop cuts, you can break down the shading. Okay, so I can say Control R, add a loop cut here, and Control R, add a loop cut here, and Control R, add a loop cut here, and check the shading. Okay, it's much better. So that's the idea about loop cuts. Now we've seen how to select edge loops, so let's see how to select face loops. So switch to the face select mode. Okay, and just hold on the alt key and right click on the edge. Okay, if you want to select this particular loop that flows around this object, just click over here. To select multiple loops, just hold on the shift key, then the alt key, and then select with the mouse. Okay, So that's about selecting multiple loops. Okay, let's switch back to a new scene. Okay, open a new scene and view selected. Okay, tab, let me add a few loop cuts. Okay, very easy to add these loop cuts now. Now let's learn about uh, mesh editing using proportional tools. Okay, so let me select these vertices, shift and right click on the vertices. Now if I move this now, okay, G key and move the mouse, okay, only those vertices are moving. Okay, now let me press escape, then go to the proportional editing tool. Okay, and once you enable proportional editing tool, as you move a set of vertices, okay, uh, the fall off is used to move the surrounding vertices. So let me press the G key and now there you go. Okay, and you can scroll the mouse to control the area of influence of the fall off. Okay, and to change the fall off type, press shift and O. Okay, there you go. And again, if you keep your eye on the 3D view header, you'll see it'll give you which fall off mode is uh, active as of now. Okay, so I can do G and I can use my constraining hotkeys. So constrain on the x-axis, so there you go. Okay, put a dent on there, and I can also do select this vertex, this vertex and this vertex and G. Okay, and change the fall off, shift O. Okay, there you go, and then constrain on the y-axis by pressing Y. There you go. Okay, tab, um, and view camera and F12 to render. Okay, and you can smooth the object and render again. Okay, again if you want um clean edges, then you need to go ahead and add the loops, but let's leave it for later. Now let's see how to um, model the mesh, okay, using the sculpting tools. Okay, um, without the sculpting tools, okay, you need to either manually move each vertex, okay, and use the proportional fall off, okay, to block your object, okay, something like this. But because of Blender's built-in sculpting toolset, we can actually move around these vertices. Okay, so let's see how to do that. Switch back to the object mode. Okay, then switch to the sculpt mode. Yeah, and also for this object, let's turn on the wireframe. Okay, you notice that not all the edges are shown. So to see all the edges, go to the view properties and turn on all edges. Okay, great. Now you'll notice the brush. Okay, this is sort of dark pink circle. Now that's your brush, and your brush has a radius of 35 and a strength of 0.5. And let's choose a grab brush, okay, so that we can grab vertices. So now, okay, now I can move the vertices, okay, like this. You can manually model your mesh. It's almost like taking some clay and pushing and pulling it around. Okay, you can do a lot of operations. Okay, yeah. To see more geometry on this object, right, let's add a multi-resolution modifier. Okay, multi-resolution modifier will basically, okay, give you this interface where you can, okay, my sculpting resolution is, okay, right now sculpting resolution, preview resolution and render resolution are 0. Okay, so I can do subdivision. Okay, so you'll notice that this object is subdivided. I can go into one more subdivision level. Okay, and then move the things around. Okay, the thing about modifiers is the actual mesh is not modified. Okay, so if I do not want this subdivision, I can just remove the modifier and I'm back to my original mesh. Okay, so this is the other way of sculpting your mesh. Okay, now let me finally show you one more final modeling tool. It is um, the extrusion operator. Okay, so X to delete the object, selected object, Shift A, add a plane. Okay, and add some loops. Okay, go to the face select mode, select face, and then you can call the extrude operator. Okay, the hotkey for extrude operator is E. Okay, there you go. Okay, and you can also extrude in another way, which is select the face and hold down the control key and then just left click with your mouse. Okay, so this basically adds the extrusion parallel to the viewing plane. Okay, if you want to place proper extrusions, let's undo, Control Z, switch to the front view, switch to the orthographic view. Okay, now I'm in the front view. Select the face. You can also use your quad view layout for better control. Quad view and box. Okay, so now I can add a extrusion in the front view. Select the face, and or I can select multiple faces. Okay, and then control and left click. Okay, okay, toggle the quad view and view selected, and there you go. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much about this session, basic introduction to some of the mesh modeling tools. In the next session we will actually model some simple object, okay, and render it out. Okay, thank you.